call.
Had to do that first, okay. Benkowski,
Here.
Caldwell.
Here.
Jansen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 3, Linda is.
Moving on to the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approve the agenda, please.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that. Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approve the minutes of the November 8th meeting, I believe it was.
Make a motion to approve the minutes, November 8th.
Make that motion.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing, we'll open a public hearing.
Sure. The first application is for Paul and Marguerite Borowski. It's a variance request under section 39660A6 of the Adams County Comprehensive Ordinance to allow a reduced setback to side lot line on property located in the southeast quarter, northwest quarter, section 15, town 20 north, range 6 east, lot 39, Sussex Edition, the Lake Camelot, at 340 Kings Gate, town of Rome, Adams County. I did receive some correspondence on this one. First, I did receive the form from the town of Rome. They do not object, and that was their interim zoning administrator signed that in November. A neighbor, Michael Sharpie, has no problem with the request. Hello, my name is Dylan Rosenthal with Red Run Property Services, and I'm working on a project for Paul and Marguerite Borowski at 350 Kingsgate Court. They have recently constructed a 2-story house, and they are in need of a retaining wall to be built in order for them to be able to use 2 of the doors on their home. The home is currently 12 foot off the property line, and they are hoping to install a retaining wall 10 foot off the side of the house, so they have room to walk on the top. The retaining wall would be built out of natural limestone and would have proper drainage. Thanks, Dylan. There's a letter from Paul Borowski designated Dylan as somebody who can speak on his behalf. Drawing, and then we hope this letter finds you well. We are writing to express our opposition to the variance request submitted by Paul and Marguerite Borowski for their property located at 340 Kingsgate Court, Rome, Wisconsin. Specifically, we are concerned about the proposed reduced setback to the side lot line. The setback reduction poses a significant threat to the well-being of neighboring properties, and we would like to outline our reasons for opposing the variance request. Firstly, the close proximity of the structure to neighboring properties may adversely impact the sale of these properties. Potential buyers often consider factors such as privacy and space, and a reduced setback could deter them from making a purchase, thereby affecting property values in the area. Moreover, there is a potential for adverse effects on neighboring yards due to increased runoff. Inadequate setbacks may result in drainage issues, causing water runoff onto adjacent properties. This not only poses a nuisance to neighbors, but can also lead to long-term damage to their yards and landscaping. It is crucial to note that the setback regulations are in place for valid reasons, and they serve to maintain a harmonious and balanced environment within residential areas. The setback requirements are designed to prevent overcrowding, maintain privacy, and ensure the overall well-being of the community. All property owners are expected to be aware of and adhere to these regulations prior to commencing construction on their land. In the case of the Borowski property, is evidence that the setback requirements were known to the property owners before the commencement of construction. It is our belief that all necessary variance requests should have been addressed and approved before any building activities took place. Granting variances sets a concerning precedent and undermines the purpose of zoning regulations. In conclusion, we urge the Planning and Zoning Department to carefully consider the potential negative consequences of approving the variance request for the reduced setback at 340 Kingsgate Court. Upholding setback ordinances is essential to maintain the integrity of our community, protecting property values, and ensuring the well-being of all residents. Thank you for your time and consideration, Mike and Sarah Fleischman. And then you guys did receive this one, right?
Yep.
Because there were pictures
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw that.
attached to it. We are writing a response to the variance request for 340 Kingsgate Court in the town of Rome. We are asking the county zoning administrator and board of adjustments uphold the zoning side property line setback requirements of 10 feet rather than the 2 feet that have been requested. We would not want to see a precedent set for smaller setbacks, creating congestion between structures in the future. This may also set precedents for other types of asks by property owners for future projects. Allowing for the possibility of 4 feet between structures on adjacent properties would be adverse for many reasons. Adams County has established setbacks between properties for good and well thought out reasons. One being the creation of a buffer zone between properties in case of fires. As we all know, this is a great concern in our area. Allowing smaller setbacks would reduce the control of fires spreading from one property to another. The project in question can also affect drainage and storm runoff. With its proximity to the lake, water flow during flooding could also be altered. We are already seeing changes in storm runoff from Kingsgate Court cul-de-sac on the properties caused by the excavation and elevation changes already in place. The allowance of properties to have closer proximity restricts emergency access to waterfronts and lakes. Also, access for property utilities, water and septic maintenance will be restricted, especially if they are between structures in the waterfront. Another detriment, because of the size and scale of this project, is that it puts limitations on projects that adjoining property owners, current or future, may want to implement. It would limit layout, design, and execution of their project. This causes the property to be less desirable and affects value. This project would be aesthetically displeasing. The project in question seems to be more than a landscaping project. It is a sizable retaining wall built with very large blocks of limestone and backfill. It is a change of lot elevation. I would question if Adams County zoning chapter 391-10B1C was totally complied with. This includes providing detailed sketches or drawings of all sides and aspects of the building property. We are asking the zoning administrator and board of adjustments to enforce the zoning ordinance for setbacks of 10 foot established by Adams County. We request other options be considered. We ask that you use as guidance for your decision the codes established by Adams County regarding variance requests, chapters 391-16, to uphold the 10-foot setback requirement. Please consider the highlighted code items on the following page when making your decision. And they included chapter 391-16A, discussing unnecessary hardship, B, with additional information, and then there were a number of pictures of, my understanding is these are the stones that are going to be potentially be used for the wall have already been delivered to the property. And I believe that's what they are. They're not in place for the wall, but they're there. I think that's all I have for correspondence.
Robert, you want to start any questions?
Yeah, I do. I see their application. And it makes reference for their reasons for wanting this variance approved. And they, on the form, it says a 3-step process. And I see 2 listed. And then if you go to Wisconsin and the county statutes, we're looking at paragraph 391-16 requiring variances, and they're referring to the duties of the BOA.
You can just ask them to answer the third question right now.
Say again?
You can just ask them to answer the third question if that's your concern.
No, I don't want to ask them that, yeah.
Could he speak?
No, I just want to refer, the 3-step process, we're bound by more like a 6-step process. And we have to deal with items like self-imposed hardship. And we have to accept, the board, as I understand it, has to find that all 6 of these are applicable and satisfied. And the one that says it's a self-imposed hardship, if it's self-imposed hardship, the way I read it, the board has no alternative but to not approve it. So we're discussing if this is a self-imposed hardship or if it's a hardship that's not self-imposed.
When you say that, Bob, are you saying it because of the way they designed the house? To make it?
Yeah, it's like 4 feet off the ground, they got 2 doors going towards that side of the house, and then they gotta do something.
So like,
That's definitely a hardship.
But is
They
it
don't have
self,
enough room on that side.
is it self-inflicted hardship, Robert? It's
That's one of the
self-inflicted.
things that has to be settled here.
how long is this retaining wall? Do we know? How long is it gonna be?
Is,
Trying to figure
Is it the length of the house? Is it going down to the shoreline? Or what is this supposed to do?
is the applicant or Dylan on the call?
Pardon me?
You wanna,
Are you Mr. Borowski?
I am not, just a neighbor.
Oh, okay.
Is the applicant or Mr. Borowski or Mrs. Borowski on the call? Or Dylan?
If, the 815-985 number, just for the records, my name is Tom Pertulski. I am the neighbor at 338 Kingsgate Court.
Thank you. And then I do see one for Nick. That name doesn't have anything to do with this one. And somebody K 2021. I don't think the applicant or anybody's on the call, so we can't get any of those questions answered. I have a couple as well.
open it up to,
At this point, I'm not sure you don't want to just table it.
Right.
If you can't get answers,
Can we give them questions that they should answer? Can we send that to them about our concerns, or we just table it until they are here? Or
I would table until they're here and
Okay.
ask them specifically.
And
Yeah.
could I ask a question though?
Not really yet.
Okay, no problem.
The public hearing portion hasn't been open. And if they table it, the public hearing won't be, or the public hearing portion won't happen until the next meeting. And at that time, if the or when the applicants are here, they can be asked at that time.
Understood, thank you.
I'd like to know what the questions the board has, and if those questions are applicable to the end result.
Well, those are questions that you have to ask.
Questions, like Dave asked a question, it's how long this wall is gonna be, they don't know. I'm saying maybe that's not applicable to the.
It would be extremely wrong if you guys discussed it without them here.
I would say this, Robert, we have mail them a copy of this and let them respond to it.
We can certainly do that. Otherwise, what I would just suggest is make a motion, table it to the next meeting. If they're here, they can answer every question you ask them. If you decide it's not pertinent, don't ask the question. If they don't show up, usually at that point, it's the board would deny it.
Okay, I make a motion to that effect, to the effect that they be present at the next, that we table it
We're gonna take it.
Your motion is to table it.
and to meet with them in person.
Well, your motion is to table the application.
Yes,
Okay.
have a second with Dave, All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, so that will be on our next meeting's agenda, January. I think it's gonna end up being January 10th, is what it sounds like. But new notices will go out and new Zoom information will go out at that time. All the people who got notices before will receive new notices again. Look for those, end of December?
Yeah.
Right at the end of probably between Christmas and New Year's. We're very close to it anyway. All right. The next application, can't read it. Viral?
Yep.
Trust, special exception permit request under section 39630A to allow any filling on grading on slopes of more than 20%. In sections 396-9A1 to allow the installation of in-ground stairs on property located in part of government lots 3 and 4, section 36, town 36 north, range 4 east, lot 1, CSM 2586, 1873 20th Ave, town of Strongs Prairie, Adams County. You would have all received a description of the work being done from Property Works. And as y'all know, Property Works is here to answer any questions. And we did receive the town form from the town of Strongs Prairie. They do not object. That was by their, well, 2 of their 3 supervisors at their October meeting. That's all I have. I have not received other correspondence. So.
Gentlemen, I was here.
If you have any questions, and then you'll get your chance there. Okay.
Questions I have, I'm very familiar with this property. Whereabouts on the lakefront is that coming out from the house?
It's coming from, there's a little shed down there at the
I know
water.
where it is.
It'd probably be just to that side of that shed,
The south side of the shed.
south side of the shed, yep, the shed's on the property line.
Right, is that stained?
I believe so.
Okay.
She hasn't discussed that with me
Okay,
at all at this point. It's just a matter of repairing the shoreline that's there, and then heading up the hill towards, I'm not exactly sure where it's gonna come out yet, because she's having a large deck built up
what are
there.
they doing with the old one? Taking it off?
The deck was all rotted, and I'm not involved in that, but yeah, they got a permit, they're rebuilding it because of the boards were rotted and stuff, and then I'm not sure where the steps are coming off, so I would imagine it's gonna go to wherever the steps are.
So
But I'm only worried about that 75-foot mark going up the hill because, you know, that's where the shoreline thing.
right, so the new deck though was staying back.
It would have to be, I would assume she got it permitted. I haven't measured it, but that's not my thing, but I'm sure it is looking at it.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm positive it is.
Okay, so there's no, so basically it's just gonna go up to the patio?
Yes.
That's there.
As a matter of fact, I think there's a deck on the bottom as well as the
No,
top.
it's concrete.
Is it? I thought there was wood on top of the concrete or something.
No, it's not, it's concrete.
Okay.
So are you thinking, is that how your property works tying into that?
Somehow it's gonna be tied into that. We haven't discussed it that far.
Okay, it's not gonna go off to the side, the south side of the house and then,
She, on the north side of the house, she has, decking, you know, some kind of stairs or something that were there existing that's being rebuilt on the north side of the house. But
okay, so you must be talking about 2 different pieces of property here. Because there's, on the north side of that, let me get, is this a picture of it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just get, oh, okay, we're not talking about the same house. Let me back up.
Which was,
I was talking about her neighbor to the north.
yeah, we're doing his. His was approved when I was in about 2 months
Oh,
ago.
okay, so that's where I'm getting confused. Okay, so, okay, I can picture her house.
Okay.
Okay. All right,
His house on the north side, yeah, he's got some kind of boat cover that was there, and there's no room on that side of the house for,
right.
for anything.
Yeah,
That's
that's
Matt
what I-
Canopoulos, yeah.
So, okay, this is the house, which building is the house? Is that the house or is the house? 'Cause
This one here would be
Oh,
hers.
that's it.
Yeah, that's the neighbor's garage
Right,
house. This
yeah.
is hers here.
Okay,
and the house is right there.
okay,
Hard to see in the woods, and the shed is right down there.
gotcha.
And she, on this side of the house, she has some kind of stairs and stuff that came down, and there were some big pine trees that were hanging
Right,
over the house
right,
that came
right.
down. And I don't know where, I assume there's gonna be a landing off that top deck here someplace,
Okay,
but I'm not sure.
all right, now I'm straight with it.
Okay, and what we've done there, you weren't, didn't get to hear the last one, but what we've done, right to the south, neighbor to the south is Mark Johnson's.
Right.
A year ago, we had reconstructed his,
Looks nice.
and, oh, so you've seen it, so you are familiar with it.
I am.
And then we made it all permeable.
Right.
So by doing all permeable brick and stuff, it allows the water to run through. And when we did the permeable, we maintained the 200 square feet allowable surface
Yeah,
down to the water.
Brian?
Yep.
Bob, can we have Brian run through Property Works' procedure on how they build these and
Oh,
how they
I'd
prevent
love to.
runoff, that sort of thing?
First thing we do,
If you would, please.
okay, well, first thing we do is I come for permits before I get in predicaments like the people in front of me. That's the first thing I do. And if I have a problem, and I know it's gonna be a problem, and I'm glad I learned from the previous one, because I have another builder in Rome that is asking me for a quote that's got the same issue coming up, that I don't know how it's gonna be addressed after talking to you guys. These builders, and I don't know why Dusty would have to answer this. So our procedure is, one, I know the book front and back. I've learned it from back when Phil was here. I've worked with Dusty Marquette County, but my procedure is to start with a plan. And I start with a plan, and I love to be in on the front side of house building. Now, this isn't the case of where there's a house to be built, it's existing. But if I have questions and stuff, I even invite Dusty out to the job site to try and get them answered beforehand. But if they're pretty cut and dry, I just execute the plan, I ask for advice, or in this case, I'm pretty confident in it because there's no buildings, lot lines, everything's pretty cut and dry from what we've done in the past. So when we build these, we'll excavate out. We're not excavating the whole yard, and we put all the safety features in place for runoff. But when we excavate out, we're putting in clean stone. There's no sand, no fines in it. There's a fabric underneath so the sand and stuff can't work its way up through the stone. And what we're doing, even to one side of the sidewalk or the other, is we're planting materials or we're lining it with rock that catch the water, that stop the runoff before it gets to the lake. And if we need some elevation changes, we use natural stone instead of, because natural stones aren't considered a retaining wall. They're part of the element that's allowed. So everything in the procedure is to stop water from hitting the lake. And if I have to go back to a customer and say, you need to do this, or you need to give up the county this in order to do it, we go ask those questions. You know, and what I mean by that is it could be rain gardens, it could be planting along the shorelines. It's all about working with the county, you guys, Dusty, to have it. I have yet to have a customer not get what he wants. And to be honest with you, I have yet to have you guys say no to anything other than I might have had to ask them for something else. So that's our procedure and how we get to this. So those steps in the book, the DNR wanted raised steps. And their thought in the raised steps process was the plants underneath and things like that, and water spilling down faster on rock. But that's been proven not as effective because nothing grows under the steps at 6 inches. And if the steps are done right, they last longer with no maintenance and don't look atrocious. And you can slow the water by actually tilting the steps backwards and forcing drainage off to the sides. So this is an instance where one rule in the book, I'm asking for a variance. And Mark Johnson, in fairness, was granted because his was existing. But just because it was existing don't mean we did it the same. We did it the right way. And Matt Konopkos, I came to you guys a month or two ago, and he's the neighbor on the other side of Marlene that you're familiar with, that we're gonna do in the spring. We did get the shoreline done. I don't know if you'd seen that, Dusty, or not. The riprap. And then obviously, I knew hers when we were here. I knew hers was a kind of a third one in the waiting that I was gonna be coming and asking you for. And we did a couple houses. Are you familiar with Karsten's, Matt's? And that one, even we took a step further and had drawings for that one. So it depends on how extensive the project is that we'll even provide drawings. But this one's a pretty simple, so you got my kind of chicken scratch on there.
Is that gonna be pretty much the same way as the house to the south? How it ties into the riprap to go to a pier?
Yeah, he wants little bit, actually, it might even be a little more attractive. He wants a little flagstone at the bottom, which with flagstone, you get some stone underneath it and grass. So the grass slows, and the reason for grass and plantings is it actually slows the water better than a smooth surface. He does want a little bit more of a patio, like partway up the hill, but it would still have to be under that 200 square feet total surface. So it isn't gonna be a very big one, but he's gonna tie it, I should call it a landing, not a patio. A little bit of a landing, like partway down, that might be, let's say, 10 by 10 or something like that. That came in the last time I talked to him, but ultimately it's gotta be underneath the 200 square foot of surface. And I'll be honest, and Dusty and Janino, I follow the rules or I walk away. And this lady here, if she wants to change the rules, because she's a difficult one, and I'm glad she's not here. If she changed the rules, I'm gonna walk away, because I already asked Janine if I could take my name off the permit, because I ain't got time I'm too busy, I ain't got time for headaches. I ain't got time to fight it. My name's on it, the other guys can do what they want, but I'm not, I and John and Property Work aren't gonna do it. We don't need the work. All we need is a reputation. And it's true, and that's why we're as busy as we are, and we're not.
How wide is her shoreline? How much does she have there?
Oh, she doesn't have very much, because the other guys were just over 100, and hers looks like a postage stamp compared to theirs. It's not on the county drawing. I don't believe it.
I might be able to get that.
She's got a total of 1.32 acres.
Right.
So it's a big parcel, but obviously it's not very much at the bottom.
A lot of that is easement, coming into her property.
Yeah. You must be a neighbor then,
Yes, I am.
so you're familiar.
I'm familiar with her,
Oh.
About 120 feet of front.
Nope, it's the next one over.
No,
It's-
not that.
It's the next one over. His was 120.
Oh, I looked at the wrong.
To the south.
Yeah.
I'd say it's about 75 feet, maybe, it's less, a little bit less.
57,
57.
55, 57. So
I will tell you, because of all the discrepancies out there, everything is marked very well. There's been, those guys are making, those surveyors are making lots of money in that neighborhood down there in M3.
Yeah.
She is not, it's in a trust, and the mother's quite old and elderly and wants to get her boat, but the daughter is difficult.
And wooden raised steps, they're not in the picture.
No. Well, I shouldn't say, I suppose it's up to you guys, but there's, like I said, the wooden raised steps, I get why people don't wanna do them because of the maintenance thing, even though, and the decking up above. And the cost is actually greater than this, and the permanency, but the wooden raised steps doesn't alter the ground any, but also nothing grows underneath it other than ferns and stuff that let water
I
pass.
have elevated wood steps and I got nothing but brush and weeds and everything else underneath it.
Yeah.
And I've had those for 20 years.
So wouldn't it look a lot more attractive with nice landscaping and all done? I didn't show you pictures this time like I did last time, but you're familiar with
I
it.
know, yeah, the property to the south looks very nice.
Good.
And that's what it's about. It's not just putting in the concrete steps in the grass. Because if that was the case, everybody would be doing it. It's about doing the base underneath them right and putting clean stone. You got 8 inches, 10 inches of clean stone that are gonna allow the water to drain in. And then, of course, the way the stone is on the side to keep it from flowing down the hill fast too. So
Robert, anything else?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to make a motion here.
Well-
We're gonna hold public hearing.
Yep.
Any comment?
Is there any, so you want me to do that now?
Pardon?
You want me to ask now?
Yeah, my public hearing.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this request? Anybody that would like to speak in favor of this request? Third time, in favor? Is there anybody in opposition to this request that would like to speak? Is there anybody in opposition to this request? Third and final time for the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on this request at all?
That being said, Robert, what are you suggesting? You gonna make a motion when we're done?
I'll make a motion that we accept this request for a special exception because it can keeping with the wetland, shoreland ordinances.
So you're moving to approve?
Approved, yeah, for that reason.
Okay. You have a motion?
I'll second it.
You have a second? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Thank you, guys. Dusty, I guess I'll be talking to you in
Yep.
a few weeks about the project.
Wait until you get healthy, so you
Yeah,
don't.
I'll wait till I get out if I come in, but I'll be talking to you about that other one. I learned something today.
I thought you were gonna end up with 4 more jobs.
Well, this is the first one. But let me ask you this, guys, and you're on the board. I don't have to interrupt them. Why can't these builders and stuff like that attack this on the front side? Some of them do now that they've been working with us over the years, but some of the front side stuff could be done.
I think this was a afterthought.
Well, I know in this other one that, like I told you, that I got called on. Oh, gosh. Have to figure it out. See you guys later.
Have a good day, thank you. Can I ask something about a previous, variance, that was turned down,
Yeah,
or do we wait till outside of it?
ask the question, I'll let you know if I can answer.
So the house on the 18th that, you know, they were talking about raising, moving and so forth?
Yes.
What's going on with that?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet? Okay.
I mean, they're still working on, they have reached out to find, they have gotten a bid on a contractor to move it or raise it and
Yeah.
slide it back. We've been in contact with them about whether they would need new permits or not, and we said no. But I was by there 2 weeks ago and nothing. I think they're just working on weighing all their options. No matter what, it's going to be not cheap.
Well, because I drove by it and, you know, they move it back to the original footprint of the older house. I mean, that puts it even closer to the shoreline, you know what I mean?
Which is,
And there's not that much there, I mean, the walkable, it's pretty steep.
That deal was already made, I think, that they could put it back in the footprint. Is that correct?
right, the ordinance would have allowed them to do it. I think what he's saying is that by the variance getting, well, I think what you're saying, because the variance got turned down, the house is gonna end up closer to the lake than it is right now.
Yeah. The footprint,
Right. I mean, they're gonna move it into the footprint,
okay, yeah.
but what I'm saying is
And
that,
that was out of code anyway, you know, there is a footprint.
right,
Well, that
So-
was there before the codes were even in place.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, they actually accidentally moved further away from the lake, but now we're making them go closer to the lake.
That's a good question, and I like doing this, and I'd like to ask another question. Why, in that meeting on that house on 18, why did we even discuss the financial aspects of that? Because we cannot make a decision based on
Well-
the money. We can't even weigh it.
Can't that be classified as hardship?
It's new.
Yeah, financial hardship, as you read through your book tonight, there's a quiz tomorrow.
Merry Christmas to you too.
It'll talk about that. It has to be, when it talks about hardship, which I haven't read that section in there. I hope it words it differently because it's really it's not hardship anymore. I mean, that's how we still talk about it, unnecessary hardship, but it's really more, if they don't get a variance, can you still get the intended use of the property?
A intended use.
Yes. And that's kind of defined by what is in the ordinance as allowable uses. So, for example, if I have to be 10 foot away from my property lines and my lot is 30 feet wide, I cannot build a house there because we have minimum size requirements for a house, so I cannot meet those setbacks. But the property is zoned residential. Well, so an intended use is a house. By that, and that's what the courts have typically looked at, is that if you say no to the variance, they cannot put a house there because they can physically not do it. That's the whole hardship argument. It's just instead of using hardship, it's can you get the intended use? Now, my lot's 100 feet wide, and I want to put a little 30 by 30 on, but I don't want to be over there. I want to be really close to this property line. If you guys turn them down, can they still get the intended use of the property? Can you still put a house on that property? The answer is yes. So, I'm hoping there's a really good section, or there should be a really good section in there on that. As far as discussing financial, when an applicant is talking, I have a tendency to make sure they feel they got their say. Now, whether you take it into consideration or not is your personal. I mean, what you're saying is absolutely correct.
I doubt it.
You hear them say that? Okay, well,
Customer relations, basically.
yeah. Should you discount it, or, I mean, at least apply that to, okay, yes,
I hear you.
I can't give that as much weight as I'd like to, because
Thank you.
but yeah, when applicant is speaking, just like in, say, the 3-minute public hearing. I mean, realistically, somebody can use their 3 minutes and talk about whales if they wanted. I mean, really. All right.
Good date.
Are we good with January 10th?
Set the next meeting date with correspondence,
No correspondence.
set the next meeting date.
Is January 10th acceptable? Normally we do it on the first Wednesday, but it is right after the new year,
I'm gonna
so.
have to Zoom it. So,
Yep.
okay,
Does that work for you? How about you, Bob? All right.
you should be done with eating your Christmas cookies by then, so.
Oh, yeah, I've only been eating for
Motion
already a week.
to adjourn,
Second?
all in favor, aye, meeting is adjourned.
So,
Under adjournment,
Oh, hold on.